Good evening, this is Pine Leaf Needles, and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And tonight we have with us Andang,
Hey, everybody.
Brax Wolf,
Hello, everybody.
Ethelros,
Hello.
Draculetta,
Greetings, everybody.
and tonight we have a special guest with us, Comstrike, who won the auction during the Fellowship Walk. Welcome, Comstrike.
Good to be here. The end must be near.
The end of the Riders of Rohan era is certainly near.
Gotta be honest, I'm a little sad now.
Oh,
That's a very morbid way to start the show.
And good night, folks.
Good night. Yes.
No, but a big thanks, Comstrike, for your donation. That was awesome, helping out the kids.
That was my pleasure. It was great to be able to contribute to a cause and get an ego stroke and reward.
And you beat out Ethelros, so thank you very much for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm still not entirely forgiving you for that.
Well, let's face it, you didn't lose your place in the show as a result.
I lost
Yet,
a place in
we
the show.
don't know.
What, you use a time machine?
I have my ways.
Yes. Comstrike, could you tell us something a little about yourself and your connection with LOTRO?
Well, I was in LOTRO originally during the closed beta phase on Brandywine. Then, as now, as the character Benjamir, the notorious one-class underleveling uber slacker of a quest pursuer. Transferred over to Landreval about 6 months after launch, formed a kinship known as Sons of Numenor, which, of course, as anyone who is in any chat channel in Landreval knows, is colorfully spamming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And is recruiting today at our website. But that said, I've been with the game loyal. It's been my first real MMO outside of a cup of coffee in Star Wars Galaxies before the beta invite arrived, and it's been a wonderful experience. It's hooked me on the genre and the game itself.
Well, welcome. And is there anything in particular you wish to learn tonight?
Well, I've heard a lot about this podcast here, so I'm just here to witness the insanity firsthand and see how it works.
Well,
Oh,
you'll get to
goodness.
participate in it in firsthand.
Have you ever heard our podcast?
I was starting to read up on it, especially since I have an extended commute now, and I have only gotten through half of one episode before the USB drive crashed on me, so I am undereducated and at the complete and total whims of the hosts here at the moment.
Ooh,
Oh, so
poor
we
guy.
could really go anywhere with this show, and you would just assume it's normal.
Well, there's a
Worst case
Skype
scenario
Pine
is
Leaf
I
who's gonna
outbid
try to
everyone
keep you
next
on
year
track.
and get revenge in a year's time.
Yes. Now let's
now we
head
know
on to.
not to have an auction next year for the show.
We'll head into game news. On this coming Monday, on the day which is posted, there is a scheduled downtime in the LOTRO servers, and I heard rumors that there is a possibility that we may have a content update.
No, it's not at all. It's just a little server maintenance, actually. At most, I think Gondor would be added to the game with this update. Definitely not the next half of Rohan, that's for sure.
They might just sneak it in.
They
Well-
might sneak in half of Rohan, maybe even Helms Deep.
I doubt it. That system's probably not ready yet.
Flying
Ah.
mounts.
Flying mounts.
The Eagles finally come to LOTRO.
I hope.
Oh. You mean in addition to the ones that are in the Great River?
Ooh, true.
Well, you do fly on those. It's just in the load screen.
Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
that was
That's
real.
a major spoiler alert to Thalros.
Yes, but that
Come
was,
on.
I have to admit, that's one of the worst cheats in the game. What? Only on the screen?
I think it was still cool though. It was still a good moment.
Our next
Just-
bit of news is that the rumor that we had concerning an auto level ability to 50 has been confirmed to be in testing, whatever that means.
Yeah, on the Massively article, in testing was in quotes, meaning
Yeah,
that it's probably a little bit more than that. But anyway.
well, yes, but you never know whether or not it actually happens because you all remember the infamous hobby horse.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to happen.
I hope
Yeah.
though that if this does cost $50, I hope that the community reacts in the opposite way and it actually stays $50 if it's introduced and doesn't go down like the hobby horse.
We will have to see what happens in goes down like the hobby horse. I thought they never implemented that.
They
I
were
think it's
going to,
basically
though.
a play to get people who have had alternate characters in this game for so many years. They've already played through the content. It'll be appealing to people who just want to take their Lobby characters and just get them forward, and maybe just appeal to other folks that are frankly new to the game, have the money to spend, and want to bypass the first 6 years of content. Or the first 4
Well,
or
not
5.
6 years of content.
Or it could be a play for tens of thousands of Chinese gold farmers. I don't know which, but
Well, we'll have to see on that matter, but
Yeah, I think that the thing is that a lot of people are saying, well, all these new players will get up to 50 real quickly. Well, there's a few things that make that not necessarily true. For the one thing is that yes, you do get to go up to 50 right away, but because of the way that the store is designed, especially, unless Turbine shoves this in your face and says, hey, you can get to 50 right away, no one's gonna know that this item exists until they're at least level 30 or something because of the way that the store is designed.
Because you
And
can't buy
so-
anything in the store.
yes.
well, unless they
Yeah.
sell a retail package or a download package that features that.
That is true.
as
If
part
they
of
if
the
they
game.
do that, that would change the game a little bit. But you do have to still go through the intro and get to level 5 first.
Well, have you ever played DDO?
No.
Yes, a little bit.
Right, because when you start a new character in DDO, or at least when I start a new character in DDO, I start on this airship, and they give me a choice either to go to the intro or skip to level 4. Now, in DDO, level 4 is about equivalent to level 20 in LOTRO, since because of the way levels work in DDO, since they follow DDO.
Okay.
So that's been around for a while.
But isn't there already a thing to skip the intro in LOTRO anyway?
Yeah,
It's just
there
not
is.
done
Yeah,
yet.
there is
Based on,
already one of
level
those.
5.
That is true.
Right, so I think this is something different from the DDO thing for sure.
Right. Yeah, that would be the DDO thing would be equivalent to skipping straight to when you could do skirmishes. I'd say about level 20.
Yeah. But with the scaling system, that's already baked into the game at this point anyway. You can basically go from getting into the game, get out of the intro, and if you can scale up from 10 up, you basically negated the need to go to 20. Well, with some of them anyway. I don't think that they're scaling everything
yeah.
to that new
Only
system.
Big Battles is getting
Yeah,
done
only
that way.
Big Battles for now at least is getting that new system, but it could be expanded into other places. And then my other point is that a lot of players can get up to, if you try hard enough, you can easily get up to level 50 in a week. And
I
so
think there's only one real purpose that I think this could be beyond just the hobby players wanting to auto level things would be if they see if this works and level it up for the Inton more so that you can roll instant freeps and just simply go straight to PvP.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping they do, because I think it would be better to have the easier access and quicker access into PvP for freeps instead of having to go through all the PvE stuff just to get there.
yeah, but I would rather just have an upscale thing and say, okay, you have a level 10 or whatever, you can just be upscaled into PvP, and there you go. You don't have to make them be at cap. You can just make them be at cap in the Utmores.
Nah, yeah.
I think that would be a lot better way to implement it. And then there's people that just want to get to the high-level content quicker. And this is a way for them to do that. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot of people I know that just can't get past LOTRO's combat system. And so I think a lot more interesting item would be to allow you to basically buy a guest pass and not have any combat skills or anything like that, and basically you just have a character that can go through the world seeing things. I think that would be a much, much more interesting purchase for a lot of players.
Ghost character then.
Kind of. You're still visible to other players and can interact with them and all, but you just can't enter combat with the enemy and
A
stuff
non-combatant class, basically.
like that.
A
Basically,
crafting
yeah.
class.
And I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from people asking for a system like that. It numbers in the thousands. There's a real demand for that kind of system. And I think that would be much more interesting for that crowd of players than this item.
So Second Life in LOTRO.
Second Life.
We're not
I would
going to go
dare
down
say
that
that
road.
the Second Life quality of this game, the fact that you can dwell in Middle-earth, is probably the only reason that 7 years into its run, it's still as vital as it is today. If this were just another meat grinder like certain other games that won't be mentioned, I don't think we would have survived this long as it is. It's the escapism quality people, especially on the corporate level, don't seem to get at times.
Well, yes, corporations are notorious for being having little souls, so to speak, especially when they get big. Next, concerning Helms Deep, is they have posted the official soundtrack on SoundCloud.
Oh, let's get into this then.
Oh, boy. All right, we'll break for an hour now. No.
You joke, Pineleaf.
I
Yeah,
thought it was really good music. I just objected to the video with the Hobbit swinging naked on a wrecking ball. That part I didn't need.
Slightly unnecessary.
What?
that?
I must have had the video turned off.
Duck down. That one would have hit you in the head. Sorry.
Yeah. Right, but I got the impression that Ending didn't like it too much.
Let's let Drac take this one, because he likes it even less than Ending.
Well, where should I begin? Um,
The electronic choir is a good place to start.
yeah, yeah, that would be my first real complaint about it. We don't need techno LOTRO. I tried to go into it with like a really open mind, knowing, okay, this is not Chance Thomas, it's going to be different. But it's just way too different. And I don't think it fits the theme of Rohan whatsoever.
So, Drac, would you have been happier if they would have recycled the Riders of Rohan music for the other side of Rohan? Because that's kind of what I thought they were going to do originally.
Yeah, I thought they might have done that too.
With what we have now, yes, I would have been. There's only, I would say, listened to it again today, and there's maybe 2 or 3 tracks that I kind of like. Other than that, no. Just no.
All right, does anyone have a rebuttal?
Well, I don't have a rebuttal, but I do have an agreement.
Well, I was hoping. I mean,
my biggest issue with this, and then I'll let you get to the plus side, Thoros. My biggest issue is that this soundtrack fits very, very nicely into the DDO soundtrack that got released recently. And after hearing that, because I actually heard that soundtrack before I heard this one. And so now, whenever I hear this soundtrack, I'm thinking of DDO, not of LOTRO, or even General Fantasy, because some of it doesn't even fit DDO. And so there are a few songs. The one that they used for the trailer, song number 23, I believe, is really good. It's very well done. There's a few others that are fairly good, but the vast majority of the songs aren't very good at all, in my opinion, and shouldn't be in LOTRO.
Well, I can say that I listened to the first song, and it wasn't enough to hook me into listening to the rest of it. So I don't know if that says anything, but it was definitely different last year when I heard the Riders of Rohan music. I wanted to hear the entire soundtrack as soon as I heard the first few snippets. So
I think that they spent the bulk of the money knowing that he had elements of the Salt Lake City Symphony Orchestra, Utah's film orchestra, and elements that he had Chance Thomas, that is to say, for the original soundtrack, and they spared no expense, but that was also years ago, and back when you still had a launch budget to go. The soundtrack he did subsequent to that was also very good, But then they always had that yin-yang thing where they had Chance Thomas doing the high-end orchestral work, and then they had their in-shop guy doing, I don't know, Freak Night in the Bars music, whatever they want to call it. But it's not horrible, but there is always that letdown. And my thought is, how much more music did Chance Thomas produce, much like he did the first time, that we won't see for another expansion because they're going to sit on it because it'll be theme music for the next year? Because they don't seem to do that, but in very rare and very large batches because of how much it costs.
I think that another thing that I would have liked to see in change from this is actually have Chance Thomas have done the Helms Deep soundtrack and have this guy do the Riders of Rohan soundtrack. I think that would have been a much better outturn because you would have been building up to Chance Thomas. And this feels like a step down with the expansion that is supposed to be their much bigger expansion. And so that's another big issue I have with it.
Well, with Rise of Rohan, Chance Thomas did do most of them, especially in the open landscape and things like that. But I think Turbine's in-house guy did do a few of the lower key places, like inside dungeons and certain quest instances and things like that. I think they could have done something like that with Helms Deep too. Have Chance Thomas do all the big booming, if you want to call it that, soundtracks for the open landscape, and then have the in-house guy do the smaller stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I listen to the soundtrack, though, there's not one time, except for maybe a little bit in 23, where I even think about the Battle of Helm's Deep, to be honest. It just doesn't seem to mesh with the subject matter to me, anyway.
You did quite a number of big battles. Did you ever
his
do
music
one where you
muted.
actually listen to the... Yeah, that's the problem. Is I tend to have my music muted also. So
I
we
did
do lots of
have-
recordings.
I did have my music playing for all of it, and a few of them at least, they play quite frequently during them, and I pretty much entirely associate those tracks with big battles now because of that.
Well, and see, I wonder how much of it is the fact that you already heard it on beta and have associated with the game, and so maybe it works better, and how much of it is, that it actually might be good, in your opinion. That's just my take on it.
Well, I mean, also I'm not going to argue against it that much because, well, for me at least, I don't love the soundtrack that much, and there's certain ones I do like, but the rest of it I'm kind of, it's okay, but it's not mind-blowing like a lot of Chance Thomas's tracks were. The thing for me at least is that I can think of about 5 or 6 other zones in LOTRO that have worse soundtracks, and that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go on it.
Well, that's not exactly a rave review. Well, that's the soundtrack. So let's go into the records that the beta broke during the beta trials for the expansion. And Ending, you wrote that article, right?
I did, but real quick, if you could give Mist an invite, I think she wants in.
Oh, she wants in now.
She wants in our club. Yeah, should we let her in? I don't know.
Who's missed?
Well, she's being
That's a good question,
mysterious.
Brax. I don't know who Mist is. But anyway, yeah, the beta actually broke a record for the most number of logins I think that they've had during a beta event. And they actually had to add servers because of the sheer number of players that were logging in to the beta server and trying to participate in the various events.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to test out big battles as much as possible to get as many people into them and seeing what would crash
Right,
and
and
what not.
I'd say
really-
that
Sorry.
I'd say that there's definitely more players in this beta than I've seen in any beta except for maybe free to play and maybe the original beta for Shadows of Angmar. It was a really big beta.
And does that really shock anyone because they gave keys away on Facebook?
That's what I was going to say. It's not really an achievement to be proud of or anything, since they gave out so many beta keys and the changes and stuff are so massive that, of course, they're going to have a lot of people taking part.
A lot of people are going to shop before they buy on this one, especially with all the years of investment a lot of old timers have.
Yeah, and I think that was their, behind their reasoning for it. But I think it still is definitely worth mentioning, the fact that they actually had to add servers to the beta. That's it's something. I think it's news.
Well,
It
there's, there's
shows
a,
a lot of people still
Experience.
care.
there's a couple aspects to that though. I think 6 years ago when the game launched, virtualization wasn't much of a server technology at that point, so they probably beefed it up physically to start with just to be sure that they would have enough. So because it
Right,
was a
yeah.
lot harder to add servers back then.
Right. And now the next piece of news has to do with a domain name that everyone was thinking for a while might have to do with LOTRO, and that was Shadows of Mordor, but apparently it's being used for another game.
That's right, Pineleaf. Earlier this year, CSTM actually shared a story from, I believe Kotaku was the one that actually broke it, that the Shadows of Mordor.com domain name was registered with Warner Brothers Games. And just this last week, we actually found out that Warner Brothers was creating a game called Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, but it did follow the blank-a-blank format, so we figured that a lot of people assumed that it was for LOTRO. But I'm actually kind of happy that it's not, because none of the Gondor stuff was already registered yet, to anyone's knowledge at least, and so hopefully we'll be going more in that direction first before we skip way ahead to Mordor.
Yeah.
Yes, very much true. We certainly want to see Gondor before we see the most depressing land that's in existence that makes Angmar look like a beautiful roving landscape.
I
Yeah,
don't
it
know
almost-
if it does quite that much, but yes.
The conjecture almost felt like, oh, our license is running out. Let's hurry up and get to Mordor.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a worry for some people in the forums, but I never really bought into that whole idea. But anyway, this new game, I'm going to talk about it a little bit real quick. It allows you to play as a ranger that was resurrected by a wraith. And the ranger still has his own thought process, and the wraith has theirs. And it's made by the same people who make the Fear franchise, so it's kind of interesting how that's Fear has a somewhat it's still really different but somewhat similar idea behind it. And so it'll be an interesting game for sure. I think it'll probably definitely be an M-rated game because it shows a beheaded orc is their only piece of real concept art that they've released so far. But it was interesting because they actually talk about the game more similar to the Arkham Batman series than anything else in the video. So it could be exciting. We might be getting another good game that takes place in Tolkien's works, and that's exciting for any player that is a fan of his works.
Yes. And speaking of Fear and the Arkham series, the Humble Bundle for this week is tied with Warner Brothers and Steam, and includes in LOTRO it includes the Steely Dawn starter pack, but it also includes Fear and parts of the Arkham Batman series.
Yeah, and it also features War in the North, which is another Lord of the Rings game. However, I haven't played it yet, so I can't comment on it, but I know a lot of people were a little bit disappointed by that game, so hopefully this one will be a little bit more gratifying to people.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad game, it's just not very adventurous.
Well, it is part of a Humble Bundle, so you can get it for a nice low price if you wish. The Humble Bundle, is anyone here really conversant with the Humble Bundle concept?
I am after this bundle. I have never purchased one before. But yeah, basically what the Humble Bundle does is it gives, you have different sliders, and when you pay for something, one of the bundles that they put together, you can choose how much you give to charity, how much you give to Humble Bundle, the people who are putting together these bundles, and how much you give to the different publishers as well. And so the whole point is to try to raise money for these different charities that the companies can pick when they put together their bundle.
Don't you actually even pick the amount that you want to donate for the games?
Yes, and that's the other big part about Humble Bundle is that you just have to pay more than the average to get some of basically to get the games that are there.
Yes.
Um,
Well, what you do is if you pay any amount, then you do get Batman Arkham Asylum, Fear 2, Fear 3,
right.
and War of the North. But if you pay more than the average, then you also unlock the additional items, which includes Fear 3, Arkham City, and the Steely Dawn starter pack.
Yeah, and those are the newer titles for the most part, and so that's definitely a good deal for only
Yeah.
$5, which I recommend paying more than that because it's going to charity, it's doing all sorts of things. Some of the donations are up in the thousands for that. Not saying that anyone has to, but it's a great
Yes.
cause and definitely worth spending some money on, I think.
Yes, I noticed that the number 3 contributor is $2,100. Bruce Wayne, definitely not Batman.
Yeah. So yeah, they usually in Humble Bundle, from what I've gathered, they usually have some pretty creative names that go to the donors.
And that ends in 2 days, by the way.
Yes, so when you're hearing this, it will probably be the final time that you can get it, unless you're listening to it after the day this goes up, in which case it might be too late.
Oh, well, some people might be listening to this while they are downloading Helms Deep or something like that.
Right, or when they're downloading Mordor in several years. Just throwing that out there.
Which may take several years, given how fast those things download.
Well, yes, there
might
is
finish
that.
downloading Helms Deep in several years, yes.
I'm about to finish Moria's download. That's
No, what happened with me is last night I finally decided to get around to uploading the Steam client of LOTRO. And it took, let's see, I started it at 8 o'clock in the evening and finally finished patching so that we had the most recent update around 9 o'clock a.m. So it took 13 hours to do everything.
Yep, that's about the length of the download, and that's because there's so many gigs that have to go through LOTRO's servers, and they put the download servers on a lower priority because there's obviously want people who have the game already to be playing it. So, yeah,
I mean, at least you didn't use Pando because that would have taken twice that time.
Yeah, it takes even longer. So definitely a better way to get LOTRO, in my opinion, is through Steam.
Yes.
And also, it can take away some of the glitches that you have. And real quick mention that the Humble Bundle stuff does give away Steam codes. I don't know if they give away the actual game codes, so I think you do have to have a Steam account to do that.
You do have to have a Steam account in order to get, because you access the Steely Dawn through Steam, the code for it, by going into Steam, clicking it. Wait, I had to go through a Rube Goldberg session in order to get that code finally. Now, speaking of sales, our store sales for this week, our free sample is a rejuvenation potion times 5. Use coupon code REJ5Y. So rejuvenate 5Y.
Pine Leaf, I think there's a little bit of bias in that. So.
Well, it's not exactly something that is hard to get in things like Hobbit presents.
I don't know. I heard the Hobbit presents are now going to have a resurrected ranger by a vengeful wrath. Oh, I'm sorry. If Tolkien could spin in his grave, he'd be at about 6,500 RPM about now with that game coming out.
Well, the one with the resurrected ranger does sound rather strange.
After that comment,
what are they going to have him do next? Turn to a skull on fire and riding a motorcycle across Middle Earth? That's just what other plot lines are they going to rip off and say, well, we called Peter Jackson's office, got his voicemail, so we collaborated with him. Now we've got Shadows of Mordor, and it's a new chapter. Oh,
Right. We also have
To be
20
fair, though, real quick, just to make a to be fair lore thing, because of the fact that no one was ever in Mordor, technically, and this is, I don't think this ever would happen, and this is totally breaking the lore, but technically, there's no way of knowing that this never happened, because if he does truly stay in Mordor the whole time, which based on the way it was written, it sounds like he could, there would be no way of knowing if this happened or not because of the way Tolkien writes his works.
So there
So-
might have actually been a flaming skull and a motorcycle in Mordor, but no one ever saw it.
There could be anything in Mordor, technically speaking.
Well, I would say it's more likely to be riding a fell beast than a motorcycle, but point taken.
Maybe he'll get on a long lost, unmentioned Palantir, and he'll contact his alternate self, that came back in time, and ask him how he dealt with Khan. Oh no, that's another story.
20% off this week.
Continue.
For shared storage, vault upgrades, inventory bags, in other words, things that have to do with storage, and your currency cap. So storage-related items. So if you've been waiting for a sale to upgrade your storage system, this is the time to do it.
Since you're going to need a lot of it with Helms Deep.
Yeah.
Yes, you will, yeah.
Yes, I'll probably spend all day tomorrow trying to sort out my bags so I can have them ready for Monday. Now for LOTRO Players news. Andang went and released a ton of end-of-beta event videos.
Yeah, so that means each one weighed 400 pounds. Because there were only 5 videos. But anyway, the end of beta event did happen, and as with every year, it is just a great experience. And this year was definitely no exception. There were stairs into the sky that took an hour to climb, and we have a comment about that later, talking about the actual statistics. But we had a lot of fun during the event. There were Balrogs summoned all over Middle-earth, and lots of foxes that died to my blades. But that's
poor
neither here nor
foxes.
there. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And if you
Yeah.
want to find out about how the beta event went, check out the videos. You might be interested.
Yes, if you wish to see Andang commit vulpicide, this is your chance to do it.
And don't go
Assume
near
that
Jurassic
word
World.
means what I think it means.
We also have a Helms Deep fan trailer.
You want me to talk about that pine leaf?
Well,
It's more of your stuff.
it's more of your
Just
stuff.
mentioned,
That's
there's this
right.
trailer, but oh yeah, let's have the creator talk about it. Andang, okay.
Oh, well,
I'm just giving you a hard time, Pine Leaf.
always.
Always, yes. That's just because you can take it. But Helms Deep fan trailer was created by myself, and I had basically just had I was actually looking for an intro song for a project that would be possibly coming down the line, and ran across a song that just for some reason sprung out to me, and I decided to create a whole trailer out of it. So that's what you get for being creative, kids. You get stuck into projects because you can't do anything else until you get the creative whatever you need to do.
Until the
get done.
muse shuts up.
Yeah, so I really enjoy this. In my opinion, it's one of my best trailers that I've done before. I try to keep getting better with each one, and so hopefully you guys like this. It is a little bit different than the average trailer, as it kind of shows more the feel of Helm's Deep and trying to show the beauty of the structure of Helm's Deep that Turbine crafted, because they crafted it so accurate to how it is in the lore that that is, in my opinion, one of the best parts of this expansion that's coming out, and makes it worth the price of entry alone, is just to see how well they crafted Helm's Deep.
Very well.
It's really nice, Andy. You did a good job.
Thanks.
Yes. And next up is a post by Flossin concerning hunter survivability. Brax, I believe you had some help with this?
Yeah, pretty familiar with this article. Flossin is one of our new contributors at LOTRO Players, so welcome, Flossin.
It only took me a month to get back to because of all the charity walk events and then the beta coming up, and so I apologize to him for taking so long, but I've just been so busy.
And as we all know, you can never have too many hunters. So,
Right.
right.
We're not going down that road, are we?
I tried to slip it in there, and I just couldn't. You guys got me. Yeah, this is an article that Flossin wrote a little while ago, and just now featured it on LOTRO players, and it's kind of neat. He talks about some of the strategy he uses as a solo hunter to take on various types of mobs, whether it be a single mob, two mobs, three mobs, or elite mobs, and he kind of goes through. He's very slow and methodical on his approach, and I've actually seen a couple of his videos where he goes and shows how he uses a good combination of
Right.
traps and DPS and stuff, and it's kind of neat. He starts off by even talking about, be aware of your environment, which, how many hunters really actually take a look around and see who's walking up and down the path. Most of them just blast right in and try to take people down before they get to you. So, Flossin did a good job with this, and I know that this was also, I believe, featured on LOTRO Reporter a while back. So it's making the rounds, and he's coming into his own here. I'm gonna look forward to a lot of his stories coming onto LOTRO players.
Yeah, I have two comments on this one. One of them is concerning the a number of hunters being impatient. Remember that in the real world, at least, and even in some references within the lore of the game, hunters are supposed to be patient folk who get into the right position so they can take down their foe most effectively.
Yeah, you get no argument for me there, Pine Leaf. I'm
right, but
I'm good with that.
Right, but in game, a lot of hunters go out there and, as you said, fire away.
Rain of arrows, baby.
Yes, and the other thing to note is that we hope that this is going to stay useful after Monday. How much do you think it'll apply still on Monday?
Well, strategically speaking, I think a lot of it will still apply. There may be some of the specific skills that he mentions that'll have to change.
Right.
So
okay.
You can tell,
so your
you can
tactics
tell
have to change a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to have to update his first article already.
All right. Anyone else have any comments?
I'll be looking forward to finding out how to pronounce his name.
It's just really exciting to have new writers coming on the site. It's always great to have new people coming to join the site, and he's done a fantastic job with the articles he's done so far, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Right. And speaking of hunters, we have a little look by Brax, into the Trapper of Foes line for Helms Deep.
Yeah, I wanted to take a deeper look at the Trapper of Foes line, being as how it's the one that's changed the most for the hunter, and I think people were probably most curious about what it was going to look like. In my original video that we talked about last week, I didn't get very deep into that line because I was limited by time, and I went through all three lines, so I kind of hurried through them a little bit. So I wanted to slow down and take a look at this one, and several of the things we had heard about before, but people hadn't really seen in action. For example, the deadly decoy, the scarecrow that you put down that generates threat and then explodes, is really fun to watch on screen. The one trap, which is your capstone skill in that line, is really neat to see. Also, the animation on that, when you toss that out on a foe, all these spikes come out of the ground and stick him. And there's just, I was surprised by how much damage you could actually do with that line. It's very much more a crowd control and damage over time line than I thought it was going to be. It's always been kind of crowd control, but now they've added a lot of the dots to the line. And in fact, during the recording of the video, I killed a mob without firing an arrow, and it kind of surprised me because I didn't intend to do that. But when I got all done, I went, I didn't even shoot that guy. I just threw traps at him until he died. So
I could just imagine a hunter engineer. That could be a real nasty combo. And it looks like we have a mysterious visitor.
Who's that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think this is
Well,
the most people we've
she's
ever had on
remaining
this.
mysterious,
I think
yes.
so. Yeah, I think she has it going through a wrong mic or something because I could hear her very, very faintly, I think. But
She has
Okay.
the chat set to Braille.
most likely, yeah.
Google.
Yeah. All right. We'll see if our mysterious visitor gets back to us. But it looks like we hit our 1,000th post. And dang, you know anything about that?
No, I don't, Pine Leaf, even though I wrote the article. Just
Yeah, you seem to count. You seem to be the one who's counting the number of articles.
Yeah, in the dashboard it gives us a count of the posts, and so it was really exciting to find out that we've already hit our 1,000th post. It has been such a very short amount of time, only like 4 or 5 months, I think, and we're already on our 1,000th post. And yeah, it's very exciting to have been able to be an influence on the community that much.
Very well. Now, do you have a favorite of all those 1,000 posts?
Oh goodness.
No pressure.
No, I don't actually. There's so much. Wow, I can't think. Yeah, I don't know. There was just so much that went on. Yeah, I don't know. That's a
Read them
All right,
all,
very
and you
well.
have them all memorized.
Yeah. All right, we'll go from 1,000 to 1. In fact, 1 ring. And what's happening with the 1 ring?
Yeah, we're still waiting for contact from the One Ring winner, and basically, if he doesn't respond within a certain amount of time, then we are going to have to be forced to move on to another winner. And yeah, it's really hard to do, and so please respond. It's definitely very, very important. So let me look up his name real quick.
I hear the runner-up lives in Mordor, so I hope
Peter
the first
F.
guy gets it.
Yeah, Peter F. Actually won this, and he I think he's already paid actually as well, or something like that. I don't know. Lillicate would know better than I would, but yeah, it's definitely important for them to respond. Otherwise, it goes on to someone else, and basically the second highest bid will be paying, donating to the charity and showing proof, and then they'll get the 1 ring if this other person doesn't. So
No,
yeah.
don't do it, Peter.
Right.
Come forward.
Our next we have another article by Flossin for new pet ideas, and this looks like something that was more appropriate for April than November. Is
Yeah, but
Skill Squirrel Lurker?
this was actually the first article that he pitched to me when he wanted to start writing for us, and
Oh, he sent it to you in April. That's what happened.
no, but he did send it to me during the fellowship one. And yeah, I think that it's a really funny article, and I think if you want to laugh, it's definitely a great option. So I highly recommend checking out his post and really help supporting our new author, because it'd be great for him to feel really encouraged and keep writing for us.
Who's your favorite new pet?
Not the saber-tooth.
No, well,
you.
I thought he was going to say
You're welcome.
the Hungry Hobbit or something.
The Hungry
The
Hobbit
Hun-
is the best. The Hungry
The
Hobbit
Hungry
is the
Hobbit
best.
is too powerful to be in the hands of any single person.
Yes, he
Possibly
can go
more powerful than the
postal.
One Ring, if he thinks the ring is a onion ring.
Yeah, he did it.
Exactly. So possibly more powerful than the One Ring.
Ooh, all right. Now, Brax, do you have your pick of the week? Or how about pick of the 1,000 if you have one of those also?
You want me to have 1,000 picks?
No, we were thinking, since you like making picks, I was wondering if you had an idea.
You won't have 1,000 in the treasure hunt, that's for sure.
Right,
No.
okay, first, what's your pick of the week?
So, over at, let me see if I want to make sure I get the URL right here. Over at lotroadventures.wordpress.com, Chocoholic wrote a really good post about the crafting changes that are coming with Helms Deep. And this is possibly something that's going to be good for people even if they don't listen to this until after Helms Deep drops, because sometimes crafting is not the first thing you get to when you go into a new expansion. We talked a lot about various aspects of the new expansion, but one of the things we haven't talked a lot about is crafting. And I was actually surprised when this came through this week to see some of the changes that are happening. We knew that we were getting a new crafting tier. That's been all over the place. But some of the things that they're changing is, and this kind of surprised me, the reputation items that you craft for guild rep, a lot of the older ones are actually getting nerfed a bit, so they're not going to be worth as many crafting XP points to get to the guild. So, for example, a small expert used to grant 400 guild XP, is now going to grant 300 after Helms Deep drops. And it kind of goes down the line there. All of the ones that were around before Helms Deep are going to grant fewer points than they used to. I'm not sure why they did that, honestly. I guess they just don't want people getting to the end of the guild rep as quickly as they did last time. I'm not sure.
From what I've heard, people are able to just stockpile them up and then get straight to the next kindred as soon as the expansion drops. So maybe it's a measure to stop that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of, but I still don't know why that's such a big deal. I don't know. Let them do it if they want to do it. There was another couple things. They're actually getting rid of some of the old materials, or condensing them into other things. For the one that I noticed, because I'm a woodworker, is that it seems like the Malorn tier is completely going away, and they're actually combining the Elex. Is it Elex or Ilex? I didn't know how to pronounce that kind of wood. Ilex.
Ilex I go with, but
Ilex. Okay. So the Malorn wood is all going away, and now the Ilex is going to take its place. And we already had an Ilex, so apparently, I don't exactly know how that's going to work without seeing it on the list there. But there's going to be some things that are combined, and there's going to be some things that are now available, I believe, at some of the vendors instead. So.
Okay. Well, Galadriel should be happy that people are not stealing her wood anymore.
Well, yeah, there is that, Andy. But there's going to be those poor walnut trees, though, that are going to be chopped down by the woodworker, by
the forester,
wood people.
Yeah.
It's by the forester, while the cooks, of course, will be trying to plant walnut trees so they can get walnuts for cooking.
So yeah, I would recommend people take a glance at this over the next week or so. Chocoholic did a really good job of putting this in a very concise article for your consumption. I don't craft a lot, but this was a surprise to me.
Yeah, awesome pick. That's definitely somewhere where we've fallen a little bit short because none of us know much about crafting. So, Awesome job.
All right, does anyone else here wish to volunteer a pick of the week?
I just love them all, so I'll recommend everything.
Okay. For a moment there, I thought I was just going to get some crickets there. This week
I love those too.
Okay. This week we did not receive any donations, but we would love to have your support. To help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can help support the podcast on LOTRO players and also help to support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you can donate and get a mention on one of our active podcasts. If you bid for $5, you get a mention on one podcast. For $10 or more, you can get a mention on all our active podcasts. And we also have some feedback, but no reviews. But we do have some comments. First off, Zenga left a comment in response to the 1,000th post. Good work, guys. I really like the idea of the website making it all available and at one place, since we gamers have no time to run on multiple websites to check the news of our favorite MMORPG. We would like to see more RP content in the future, especially videos. Keep the good work flowing.
Must be so satisfying not to have to read out a poem.
That was from Zenga. But there was also a post from Flossin. I think
he just wants a mention on our show. He's been doing all these things, submitting.
Yes,
Big thanks to him.
see how many mentions he can get in one episode. And he left a comment to the beta ending event part 4 video on Ending's YouTube channel. The number of steps when you made vertical advancement is 868.
Yeah, this is the one that gives statistics on our long climb into the sky that we went on. So
Yes, as they were climbing the stairway to heaven, yes. The estimated altitude at the end, 3,669 feet, or 0.69 miles, or 1.1 kilometers. The last jump made on the War Steed took 22 seconds to fall. The first fall took 14 seconds, altitude 970 feet. Second fall took 16 seconds, altitude 1,260 feet. And third fall took 19 seconds, altitude 2,000 feet. And when you add that all up together, it just does not fit within the laws of physics.
But he stuck the landing.
Yes.
yeah, very effective parkour.
I actually did survive one of the falls, so that's something.
But the Angmarum judge held back and only gave him a 7.
Well, yes, but that's always the Angmaran judges. You know how they are.
She's grumpy.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Now who's spoiling things?
Not till you said that.
That's true.
Well, yes. Well, yes. Something about oaks, yes. Now, emails. This week we did not receive any emails. If you would...
Sorry, that was miscopied. I copied from the iTunes thing saying we didn't have any, and it's a total mistake. So sorry, Pineleaf.
Very well. You can contact us at lotroplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at LOTROPlayers at LOTROPlayers, Andang at PBMP_Andang, Braxwolf at Braxwolf, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, Ethelrose at Ethelrose.
And you can follow Pineleaf at Pick Your Favorite Article Out of 1,000.
All right.
Not
Once
to put
again,
you on the
that
spot.
may or may not actually be Pineleaf's Twitter. We recommend that you don't send any personal information that you might entrust to Pineleaf to this Twitter account because, you never know.
My favorite post was the 1,000th one.
Right.
Indeed. Thank you.
Anyone have any other thoughts before we close?
Thanks.
Most of my thoughts are too painful to share, but that's a different story.
I was going to thank Comstrike for his bids again, and thanks for coming on and hanging out with us. That was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
pleasure to hang
You really
out.
made it be a much better show.
Right.
Yep. And goodbye, Rise of Rohan, I suppose.
Yes.
Yes.
Farewell to Rohan. Well, actually, we can't say farewell to Rohan since we'll be going to the second half of Rohan. We'll say farewell to the East.
Farewell to riding in Rohan.
Yeah.
East
Farewell.
side.
No. Farewell to the Eastament and welcome Westament.
And most importantly, Helms Deep, which is going to be the new Bree for Andang. I'm going to stay there
Even if
forever.
no one
just
else goes
RPing like
there.
crazy.
It should make
Yeah.
the snowball emotes this winter a hell of a lot more fun.
Right. Very well. And a big thanks to Acacia for our new podcast intro and ending. Lotro Players News goes live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. server time Eastern. You can join us by going to lotroplayers.com/live and be sure to join us in the chat room. And thanks for listening. That is all for tonight. Until next time, this is Pineleaf Needles, and remember to skirmish responsibly.